we made an updated leveling guide for you guys to help get you your max level alts ASAP. So there's actually going to be two parts to this. Both are slimmer, but have to do with when you are watching this video. We went on the PTR for patch 12.07, and it seems there's been buff to experience gains for certain activities, but we'll get into that in a later portion of the video. So if you're watching this prior to 12.07, then you'll want to stick around on this side of the video, although I do recommend going and watching the entire thing, because as that content goes live, you'll have the most up-to-date information if you plan on leveling any ults past then. If you're watching this past the release of 12.07, which is currently scheduled for June 16th of 2026, then you'll want to skip to that portion of the video. But let's get into it. So again, this is the section to prior to the release of 12.07, and you want to level your ults as fast as possible. We recommend doing it on the Dark Moon Fair weeks, which the next one is scheduled to be on the week of June 7th through the 14th. I used this method recently to level my monk tank, which is fairly easy, it just takes a few hours to do. We got it done in roughly 3 hours, which was as much as a speed run as we could possibly do, so if you're not rushing and doing everything non-stop like I am, it'll probably be about 3.5 hours. You should expect it to be somewhere around there, no more than 4. Firstly, you'll want to complete all of your delves. There's 10 now, so you want to run around and finish them all, and do not turn in the quests. This is crucial. You should be somewhere around level 82 at this point. This should take you roughly about an hour to do, which gives you plenty of time to go back to the delve, Shadow Guard Point in Voidstorm. You'll need the story variant Calamitous up in order to get this done in the most efficient way possible. However, if it's not, you can always do quests and a quick Stormarian Assault to get this done, and it'll take you another about 30 to 45 minutes to finish. But again, I recommend doing it while Calamitous is up, because that's the quickest way to do this. Well, the strategy with Shadow Guard Point that I've found, that if you're playing a tank spec versus DPS spec, is a bit different. If you're playing a tank spec, I recommend pulling almost the entirety of the delve, not dungeon. And the loop will be slightly different than a DPS loop. It's just, obviously the DPS loop is going to be a little bit smaller. For this reason though, since you are pulling a ton of mobs, you're going to want to have Valera set as a healer, since your damage is going to be a bit lower and you can do a ton of AoE on your tank. It'll take you roughly about 4 minutes from start of the pull to when you finally kill all the mobs, and it should give you roughly about 65 to 75,000 experience, assuming you have your Warband 5 achievement and the Dark Moon Fair up. This is obviously going to depend on the exact mobs you pull, but the way we do it was somewhere right around the 70,000 mark, give or take a couple thousand of random mobs that I may have pulled, or a different spawn pattern. This would be a little more than 1.5 bars per pull, and up to 2 bars depending on what exactly you pulled. Now if you're a DPS character, you're probably going to die if you pull something this large, so I recommend doing about half this route, which is just the entirety of the first room up to the second loop. This gives you about 40 to 45,000 experience, and you finish it in under 2 minutes, so it's incredibly fast. Again, you want to have Valera as a healer just to make sure that you can get through it as fast as possible. Some tips I found to make it as fast as possible is to right click your portrait to leave the delve, or just make a leave delve macro instead of running out. And be careful if you have war mode on, because I got ganked a couple times leaving the delve, which got rid of my Dark Moon hat. Another tip I have is, if you want to make some quick gold, before you get started on all this, go and pick up tailoring. And check out my Tailoring Profession Treasures guide to get all the tailoring treasures. If you get tailoring up to 25, you'll want to get Nimble Needlework 20 out of 30, so you can get 1 point in the Sunfire Silk Weaving and Arcana Weaving. Once you do that, the mobs will start dropping a ton of silk for you, and you'll be able to not only make a decent amount of gold, but it'll help you with your first crafts as well. Obviously you'll burn some of your first crafts just doing 1 through 25, but not many, as you can just do the repeatable ones to get you almost all the way up there. If you do decide to get all your first crafts out of the way, you can probably get to 81 before you even get started, and get into a second tree, which would be the Fabric Specialist, and obviously you'll just want to max that completely out to make sure you're getting not only rank 1 silk, but rank 2 cloth that'll be dropping almost the entire time you're in the delve. But if you do that, you're going to be doing this delve until you're level 88. If you do the first part and just do a couple first crafts up until you get to nimble needlework, then you'll be doing the delve until you're about 87, 87 and a quarter, and then from there you'll leave, do all your first crafts before you go turn in all your delve quests, or go turn in all your delve quests and then do your first crafts the rest of the way up. This not only gives you most of the materials that you need for all your first crafts, but it'll likely make you an extra 20, 30k, depending on, number one, what time of the day that you sell your cloth, but how much cloth you actually get. It's completely optional, but something to consider. So for this next part, if you're watching this past the release of 12.07, which is again scheduled for June 16th, then this will be the fastest way to level. First off, let me explain the buffs. The dungeon completion quests, prey quests, delve quests, the main quest in Silvermoon called Hope in the Darkest Corner, which requires you do like 10 world quest dungeons delves, and the weekly renown quests like Cithero Soiree and the Stormarian Assault have had their experiences gains massively increased. Now first, let me explain the dungeon. Mysara Cavern, Murder Row, Magister's Terrace, and Windrunner Spire are the 4 dungeons that have their quests available almost immediately, or with less than 5 minutes of work to get. Now, if you want to do some dungeon spam, you can absolutely just do that. It's gotten a bit easier, but overall not the fastest way to level. I've done this on a couple characters now on the PTR, where it's a little bit buggy, where I don't seem to have the warband buff for the 25%, so these values may actually change and get slightly easier. But I'm not 100% certain, so this may get easier, but we're just going to use the values that I have for now. If the completion quests are actually more than the values that I'm stating in this video, then you'll just skip one of the zones for your Prey and Renown quest. However, let's get into it. The Prey quest, the Renown quest, the Hope in the Darkest Corners quest, and the Dungeon quest have gone from roughly 14,000 experience, in some cases there were 30,000 experience I believe for the Dungeon quest, to about 105,000 experience per quest, which is what the PTR is currently showing. One thing to note, the experience may be slightly higher or slightly less, depending on not only your level, but your warband experience gain. Also, if you have war mode enabled, and lastly the Dark Moon Fair buff. But with all those things considered, the fastest way to get to 90 would roughly take about 2 hours, and it starts with first completing all your delves. I would do this prior to doing all of your prays, as you don't want to turn in the prey quest until you absolutely have to, and obviously to move forward to the next prey you would have to turn in the other quest. After you get all your delves done, you should be roughly about level 82. From there, you'll want to start doing your prays as well as your weekly renown quest for the zone. Now, I found with the nerf to the traps, just doing a couple world quests and finding traps along the way will get your prays done roughly in about 7.5 minutes. So it shouldn't take too long at all. This is obviously just for the prey itself and doesn't include the renown quest. However, you'll want to complete the renown quest as well before you turn in the prey quest. It is also a very important note to make sure that you turn in your prey and renown quest with war mode on and before you take the portal back to Silvermoon. In Silvermoon, war mode isn't affected, so you'll lose the bonus experience, as you can see in this video. Both of these are done on my level 89 Demon Hunter, and they are both random normal prays. Well, one of the videos is 88 turning 89, however the completion experience, because I took the portal first, was only 96,000 instead of 112, which you can see in this next video. So you always want to make sure that you're turning in your quest prior to, again, taking the portal. Because had I taken the portal first, even at level 89, it would have only been 97,000. Now anyway, once you finish each of the Prey and Renown quests, it should give you roughly about 275,000 to 325,000 per zone, depending on how many world quests you had done and what Renown quest you got. This should get you to level 86 fairly easily. It got me about 86.5, especially considering the Stormarian Assault can easily get you 300,000 experience alone, just from the event and the turn-in. Now this is where you'll start the rest of your turn-ins. So you'll want to start with the Silvermoon Delve quests and Hope in the Darkest Corner first. Again, the reason is that because War Mode is not enabled in Silvermoon, so you'll get the least amount holding these until that very end. Turning in those 4 Delve quests and that Hope in the Darkest Corner quest should get you roughly about 88. From there, you'll still have the other 6 Delve quests to get. each giving roughly 164,000 experience, assuming the Dark Moon Fair buff and War Mode enabled. That should take you the rest of the way to 90. In the event that you're short though, just because maybe you didn't do as many world quests or you didn't have War Mode on for one of the zones, you'll still be level 89 no matter what, so you can just use your first crafts to finish your leveling. No matter what, this will get you to level 90 in 2.5 hours, perhaps up to 3 hours if you do have to do your first crafts. And again, I reiterate the tips for this. Make sure that you turn in your prey quests before you take the portal back to Silvermoon. And make sure War Mode is enabled to turn in all your Delve quests, as you won't have to encounter any PvP in Zul'Aman or Voidstorm, and one of the Harandir quests. I understand you do have to fly to turn in the Grudge Pit, and that may be a little sketchy, so if you want to turn it off for that, go ahead, but at least for those 5, you definitely want to make sure that it's on. I'd also recommend using some Phoenix oil in a flask, as it makes killing stuff significantly easier. If you'd like to get it done in a group too, that also helps, since the preys go by a little bit faster. The group effort contributes to the prey bar, not just an individual one, so it does make a difference. If you found this video helpful, please do me a favor, hit that like button, and thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.